8 minutes. Good evening to everyone. So today we'll talk about how Ukrainians are waiting for help from the government and what this government, represented by the deputies of the servants of the people, is ready to provide. Then we'll take a look at the money in the garbage bags that apparently they've collected. All these various Alinas, Mercedeses, Serozas, Pritulas and so on in order to bail out their own friends, so to speak, from court cases, investigations and so on. Well, let's also see what they want from Ukrainians abroad. There's a lot going on there. First, I'll show you a very interesting shot. Here we have janitors, as I understand it, trying to free a mobilized man. And I think that's great. Well done. They're driving him off with brooms, too. Look, here are these very TCC guys. Manhunters are pushing a person into their... Well, it's not a regular van. It's some kind of weird little van, but still... And there's a woman with a broom, a man with a shovel. They're fending everyone off and leaving, having accomplished their task. As you know, violence can be shown on YouTube if the channel is, well, you know, big enough. So check it out on Telegram. The full video and others are there. Just point your phone or tablet camera at this QR code and you'll get where you need to go. Or there's a link to my Telegram channel right here in the video description. Everything is there too. And on top of that, I'll probably show you those who usually want Ukraine to keep fighting. Hotly, the border of 91. Someone there is talking about how it's already because of the border of 91, like someone is limiting us. Was it Yushchenko who said that or someone else? I don't remember anymore. Oh, that no one is limiting us. We can go beyond the borders and head straight over there, probably toward Alaska, through Russia, conquering clearing after clearing. By the way, if you remember, there was someone named Yushchenko, if you still remember. He is now extremely happy that, well, first of all, that he's actually, well, that's not it. Actually, his children and grandchildren are abroad. And besides that, he is glad that Europe is transforming and realizing that Ukraine is a bulletproof vest for Europe. I was wondering if Yushchenko is happy about the deaths of people who are involuntarily becoming hostages and this very bulletproof vest and the quills of a porcupine and whoever else. But in general, you see these non-humans continue their pseudo-intellectual antics, producing things like this. Similar to Yushchenko, only younger. Young, very energetic, and therefore ready to fight to the end for her country.
Because I would fight to the end. Listen.
What an energetic guy, and he says he will fight to the end. Powerful stuff.
And he would like to win back the territories. In my opinion, the right decision would still be to fight. I think that freezing the situation will not benefit us.
Oh, not at all. Now they ask him, and you, buddy, do you want to join the army? A few moments later,
Probably not. I'll just be honest, because I'm not going to pretend that I really want to join the army, because everyone's scared, we're all human, and so on.
Well, yeah, we're all terrible people and so on. Only people like you. Send those who are scared, who have no protection, to die while you stay behind. That's a larval politician, as I understand it. Juan and I are still confused. That's how cruel we are. I hope you remember who that is. He doesn't show up often, but when he does, he makes an impact. And now let's look not at a future politician, but at a fully formed adult specimen, an imago, as entomologists and others say. What else was left? The politician says. What rights do Ukrainians have? What is he talking about there?
No matter how we spin it, we understand that we are limited by the war, and no matter how hard we try to help. I already said this behind the scenes, that everything we can do as the Verkhovna Rada is to help Ukrainians. I apologize in advance for the harsh metaphor, but it's more comfortable to burn in hell, and for the country as a whole.
There's a grown deputy sitting there who evolved from the larva of a deputy just like that. With eyebrows done by a cosmetologist, with a face done by a cosmetologist, clearly. I just fought in a kipa, some restaurant or whatever. And he's telling everyone that all the Verkhovna Rada can offer Ukrainians is the chance to burn in hell. Well, he apologized for saying that. That's all. But here, Juan and I have a question. Why the hell do we even need deputies? I mean, he says, oh, we're limited by the war. We're limited by the war here, so we can't offer anything to the people, so to hell with the people. Here's the question. If you count how much these deputies, there are about 400 of those slackers, get paid, how much their assistants get paid, how much they get allocated for working with the population to whom they're ready to offer a place. In hell, that's not my words. That's his. And how much do they spend on traveling around Ukraine and beyond? And again, the question arises, wouldn't it be easier to just send all that money to the people so things would get a little bit easier for them?
It's a rhetorical question. Obviously, there's no answer to it. Or rather, there is an answer, but it's called a big fat nothing with poppy seeds.
And since poppy seeds are apparently too expensive during the war, it's just plain nothing, so to speak. No poppy seeds, no honey, no sweeteners of any kind. Well, here's a typical servant of the people making jokes saying, "Excuse me, but this is all we can offer you. Then what's the point of you if you can't do anything? What are you good for?" It's war, and you say you can't do anything, then go to war and fight. If you can't fight yourself, send your son. Your daughter, wife, grandmother, grandfather, send them there. He spent 2 whole weeks hanging around basements with some guys. Well, whatever.
Well, imagine what ordinary Ukrainians have to listen to. They're ready to give you the chance to burn in hell.
Well, honestly, I don't even know how to comment on that anymore. We go there. Juan and I are puzzled. Juan's sombrero keeps getting smaller. It used to be this big, and now it's this small. So, well, that's how things are. Now, as for taking care of Nerda again.
You remember, right, all those stories from people like Alina Mercedes or Siras Pritchul saying you need to donate every hryvnia, give 2 hryvnias, says Alina Mercedes.
Supposedly, this money is supposed to help ordinary Ukrainians. Well, they'll be protected by Drin. We're protecting them. They'll be protected with ballistics, flamings, schmalamings, armored vehicles, ostriches, whoever. Well, now let's see where the donated money actually goes. The donated money is collected in these kinds of trash bags, construction bags, bags for construction waste. And then they are sent. These are hryvnias, the ones we donate, yes. Whoever is donating, well, come on. And who do they send them to? To the corrupt officials who sit in court. They are the ones who directly take the money. In those very bags. They were collected for Halushchenko, one of the former ministers who was put in a detention center earlier, for whom a bail of 150 million hryvnias was paid, if I remember correctly. Well, we continue to burn in hell, because our beloved deputies, of course, only care about themselves. Things are being exposed there, but even before, it was clear to any reasonable person that all of this, absolutely all of it, shows there is no patriotism at the top. All these clever words about tightening our belts. Tighten our belts and starve because it's war. Oh, all politicians love that. Right now, there is practically no country with its own ideology. There is pure capitalism that works. Everything else doesn't. This comparison, of this war with some others, comparing it to other conflicts and so on, it's just not the same thing at all. Right now, capital is fighting against capital in order to expand its own sphere of influence on one hand, and on the other hand, to reduce the sphere of influence of other capital.
Well, as the Ukrainians say, when the gentlemen fight, the peasants suffer. Let's take a look at what's going on with those 150 million hryvnias.
Operation Forest Gump. What is known is that on August 19 on Boysap, they announced the uncovering of a scheme to legalize 150 million hryvnias. Let me remind you, this is just one legalization scheme. The amount is huge for an ordinary person, but even within such a relatively, well, Ukraine is a big country, but not the richest.
If you're a relatively poor country, it's still a tiny amount, just a drop in the ocean. All those Pritchula types and all the others who are collecting money there, it's just monstrous amounts of money. All those people there are buying things. One buys a Mercedes for 180,000, another for 60. Someone else buys a house somewhere in Spain, another one on a lake in Italy.
Well, in general, all the people at the top somehow manage to live well, but they keep saying that life is hard and expensive and keep asking for another 2 hryvnias. Basically, all of them are close to Zelensky, his own buddies, so to speak. And even recordings of conversations have been made public featuring the deputy head of the president's office, a former member of parliament, and a trusted representative of the management of Sense Bank. One of them is this very Irina Mudraya, who apparently got caught so badly that Zelensky immediately fired her, as if to say, my hands are clean, I didn't take anything. And remember, Yushchenko too, he was waving his hands around, saying he didn't take anything. But now, well, he's pretty much out of the picture. And then she has some other people involved too, and that's it. Basically, there are a lot of them here.
On the Telegram channel, which I highly recommend checking out, there's a description of who they found there. Zarina Madreya, the General Director of the Directorate for Legal Policy of the President's Office, and the Deputy Minister of Justice. And a former Member of Parliament, and a current Member of Parliament. And there are also heads of the board here. And even the head of the metro construction somehow got in there. I don't know who is building the metro in Kyiv now, but apparently it's a very useful post, a very useful person to have. But as for what Zelensky and his associates are now saying there, that they didn't take anything. But can you imagine how many people around him have already been exposed? Because they're clearly not clean. Someone was jailed but got out, released just like Yermak. And by the way, Yermak was accused of corruption by none other than former Defense Minister Fedorov himself. Just imagine how much fighting is already going on among the so-called friends in that snake pit, between the individual members of this very friendship. All of this is happening in that very snake pit. And then there are those same people. There are still cases against them. They were seizing real estate in the center of Kyiv. But nothing like this ever happened before, and here we go again, can you imagine? Well, it's a criminal organization. Under the leadership of their current and former members of parliament, they seized the company for its real estate. They were basically paying money to whoever needed it. And again, from their own circle, of course. Zelensky has nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. They were forging things. Yes, that's with our Ministry of Rhetorical Questions. Everyone is trying to answer the question. But so far, not a single answer has been found. And they tried and successfully seized real estate. In the center, they fabricated fake criminal cases with the help of hackers and bribed judges against property owners. And they forced them to transfer the property to themselves. That's how wonderful it was. And you should urgently donate a couple of hryvnias. Then there's this very same Fedorov. One of the MPs made a statement. Over there, basically, it's just MPs everywhere. And they're all over the place. It's all mutual cover-up there, but as soon as one of them falls, that's when the real spider fights in a jar begin. And now this very same Fedorov is being accused of getting a military exemption. Eastern Europe. This is one of those Soros foundations, and it happened 2 days after he stopped being Minister of Defense. Well, I mean, he doesn't have 3 kids like Seryoja Pridula, for example. He's not 60 years old like Tuka, for instance, who keeps talking on and on. And that's why the question arises. If you left a position that grants you an exemption, why do you still have that exemption? Juan and I are puzzled by this. For example, let's talk about Kuleba. There are also 2 Kulebas there, a woman and a man. They regularly interview each other in different rooms. Ah, that's extremely interesting. But here's the question. Why hasn't Kuleba the man picked up a shovel handle and gone to the front yet? Instead, he's just talking nonsense. It's simply beyond comprehension. Well, as for Fedorov, they say, yes, that's Goncharenko talking. He received it. First of all, he's liable for military service, but he doesn't have 5 children. But he did that very deferment from a foreign fund. Well, that's just great. He got his exemption on July 18. That's how things are. Wonderful, wonderful, talented people. That's all. That's all. And now, here's another very interesting one. This is about all this mess of criminal cases in Ukraine against all these leaders. This wise woman on the screen was telling everyone how to love Ukraine and how to donate. And all these ex-officials, all sorts of former deputies, and everyone else, probably, I didn't see it, but most likely they also took part in the telethon and in all sorts of other patriotic events where they loudly declared that we need to love Ukraine. You need to join the armed forces, the army is for everyone, you have to defend your homeland, and so on and so on and so on. Well, now it turns out that people like this, well, as it turns out, again, this has never happened before, and now it's just been proven again that, well, these are actually scumbags. I just don't have any other word for it anymore. I'm already tired of being sarcastic about this. Now, let's call things by their proper names. They're real scumbags. And then there's another talented person. I have him right here. This is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sabiga, back when he was still Kuleba's deputy. He deprived Ukrainian citizens of the opportunity to receive notary services and passports abroad. This Sabiga, that's him, this is Pisaros ranks. After that, there was complete impeachment in his own words. And now he is asking Ukrainians abroad for help. He has ruined so many lives. Both Kuleba and this character, and of course the powerful president too, are talking about air defense. We'll talk about air defense too, which doesn't even exist.
They have ruined so many lives, and now look at what this very Sibiga... Where did he come from? Okay, here he is. He says that I urge Ukrainians abroad to act, asking Ukrainian organizations, these are communities all over the world, to send their voices, to appeal to international partners, to send air defense systems to Ukraine. Well, Ukrainians abroad rushed off, their hair flying back if they still have any, tripping over themselves to talk to international partners to help. Yeah, you're the foreign minister, so you go and talk to international organizations. At the same time, we're watching what these Sibias, Kulebas, and others have done, and so on.
Back in 2023, some head of the Ukrainian Migration Service asked the authorities of other countries not to integrate Ukrainians in those countries. This is Natalia Naomi herself. Natalia says that extending international protection for Ukrainians in EU countries is a big risk because Ukrainian citizens will not return home. Well, here we go. Some lady is deciding, excuse me, again, starting with the letter M. She's deciding for Ukrainians what they should do, how best to integrate or not. Who are you anyway? Again, later we find out that they're carrying hryvnias in bags. By the way, today the euro hit a historic high against the hryvnia. I mean, the euro went up, naturally not down. The next thing this same Sabiga does is make the process of getting protection status more complicated. For women now. For women, not just for men. They may be asked for data from the Reserve Plus. This is new information, August 20th, 2026. Ukrainian women, when applying for temporary protection abroad in some EU countries, read in all countries always may face a requirement to provide data from Reserve Plus.
How would an ordinary woman have data from Reserve Plus? Well, that's a rhetorical question for the Ministry of Rhetorical Questions. The European Commission stated that the current rule applies to all Ukrainians, regardless of gender. Look at that gender balance. Isn't it wonderful? That's Europe for you. We know it well. In the coming weeks, EU countries are supposed to receive additional clarification on how to apply them. But no one has explained what refugees should do in the next few weeks. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine has taken note of what is being said in Ukraine. This is that same Sibiga who keeps shouting, "Help!" The agency reported that they received an appeal from Ukrainians, became aware of the situation, explained it here, and emphasized that such cases are not widespread. But as a Ukrainian living abroad who is familiar with all of these, with most of the cases, I say that they are widespread. And Sibiha, I repeat, should go and communicate with international partners himself, without the help of Ukrainians abroad, without any help at all. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs also replied that you must cross the border legally. You must be able to prove that you are crossing the border legally. Well, and so on. Wonderful. As for the new innovations, sorry for the tautology, the embassy advises getting a stamp confirming your departure from Ukraine, which not everyone gets. Ukrainians who are leaving the country are advised to definitely get a stamp confirming that they have crossed the border. And what else are we told here? Without it, there may be problems with obtaining temporary protection in the EU. And you still have to ask for this stamp to be put in your passport. The border guard might refuse to put it in out of spite. Or maybe not out of spite. Maybe they're told not to put it in. Or the next one is your front. Over there is the front. Or rather, not the front. Front. A restaurant where these disgusting people sit with their borscht and pampushki, talking about patriotism. And the real front, where people are dying, perishing, and getting maimed. And of course, they talk about the lack of air defense systems. That's Zelensky. He says, but in my opinion, we have the most powerful air defense here. The most powerful, really, nothing else is needed. Just put it somewhere in the center, on the dome. And that's it. All of Ukraine is protected. Just like Rambo, only missing the headband. And they tell us, for example, Klitschko says that every third building in Kyiv has been damaged. Every third apartment building. Just imagine that. With 12,000 registered in the capital, that means 4,000 buildings have damage. Of varying degrees of severity. So, literally, if you walk down the street, you see this destruction. That's how terrible everything is right now. As for restoration, naturally, right now, as that deputy said, burn in hell, because it's war. There is no money. And each attack by Russia cost the capital's budget 500 million hryvnias. Considering that now it is necessary to make every effort to prepare for winter, to build boiler houses and a backup system, there is not enough money. But here, Klitschko can be trusted, because indeed, the budget is not limitless. On one hand, a huge number of infrastructure facilities have really been destroyed and they need to be repaired somehow. So, what are the people who have always paid taxes and everything else supposed to do? Well, yeah, the deputy's answer is, let them burn in hell. That's all they can offer. Well, that's what we have, literally. And then a minibus was hit here in Kherson.
Zelensky said that the partners are to blame for this because they don't give missiles to Ukraine.
How so? And why weren't all these missiles prepared? And why did they have to activate and escalate the situation? And as for what they were saying there, like, we'll keep warm from the fire of burning wild berries, and that's it. Well, maybe they really are keeping warm there with that kind of money. In bags, I mean, all those corrupt officials and their sympathizers, ordinary people, they're gonna have a hard time. They already do. The same minibus, well, it's completely wrecked, and some people think that's how you fix things. They hit that minibus with a regular drone. And Zelensky said again that the partners are to blame, that the defenders need support. They need partners. CBI is yelling over there saying, give us air defense systems, and in the end, this is what happens. Well, let's take a look at some more powerful leaders now. Besides the deputies, there are others. A whole bunch of them have come out now, so many that I can't even count. There are just a huge number of all these powerful people. What? Well, who do we have as one of them? Well, for example, Osachuk says that our refugees should return home, says Osachuk. The fact that there might not be a home doesn't bother him at all, because the deputy sits comfortably, eats well. Everything is fine.
Nice haircut, all that. The shirt isn't cheap, not cheap at all. Ukrainians need to be brought back, says that petty lawmaker. Ukrainian refugees.
They should at least understand a bit about the role of the Ukrainian state, that when it comes to their support.
Because what support? Are you out of your mind? Your own colleague just said that Ukrainians can only burn in hell. What support? Why are you lying? Kwan and I are still baffled. We still look at these parasites feeding on the state and the people and are amazed.
I really hope that a significant part of these people would return to Ukraine, because otherwise we will have huge problems.
You will. Yes, you really will. When the war ends. And you really will have problems, I think. Well, at least, well, there must be some kind of karma.
There is no such thing as hunger or a lack of food. That doesn't happen. If you couldn't get bread at all in Ukraine, that just doesn't. I can assure you of that 200%. And why are you so sure?
Well, because we've probably been drinking coffee in Yalta for years now, and we've been eating shashlik, we've had enough to eat and drink, now there will be bread. So, in general, everything is great. That's how things are, dear viewers. Juan and I are saying goodbye to you. Well, not goodbye, actually, but see you later. Bye, everyone.
I don't know if you're doing a fundraiser or not. Right now, you need to donate. If you need to donate to raise money for anti-drone systems, some can give 20, some 100 hryvnias. Well,
let's put it this way, Alexei. Let's support all the fundraisers.